One of the bigger problems with collecting flashlights is managing all of the batteries and battery types. Of course, a lot of flashlights coming out nowadays have battery chargers built in, such as this Catapult V6 that I reviewed a while ago now. But if you're like me, you're not really into built-in battery chargers, so you end up with a whole lot of batteries that still need to be charged the traditional way. If that's the case, then I would highly recommend this, the XTAR VC4, as I feel this is definitely one of the very best all-around options for managing all your flashlight batteries. Now, before I get too far into this review, I just want to mention, this is the box and the bag, obviously, that my charger came in. I bought this at least 3, maybe 4 years ago, so I've had it for a while. Since then, they've introduced a new version. The only differences are cosmetic. So it comes in a different box. The bag is slightly different. The cable it comes with is slightly different. It has the same connectors, but the cable itself is just different. The logo on the actual charger is different, but everything about it functionally is still identical. So just so you know, when you get it, if you were to buy it now, it will look different, but it will be the same product. So that being said, let's look. I have a list here because it's pretty complicated. Let's look at the specs of this charger. So, as you can see, design-wise, this is a very simple charger. It's just a 4-bay with these sprung slots. It has a single port here for this USB cable. So this is a USB power charger. It has a maximum output of 2 amps continuous. It can output either 1 amp continuous out of each of these ports simultaneously, or it can split 500 milliamps each across these 4. This charger is able to charge pretty much all of the lithium-ion types that you would want to charge, so IMR, INR, NCR, etc., as well as nickel metal hydride. This does not charge lithium iron phosphate, so just be aware of that. It can handle battery sizes from lithium-ion 10440 all the way up to a 32650. Or nickel metal hydride, that would be quadruple A all the way to D size. Obviously, these outer bays here are slightly larger than the inner bays in order to allow you to charge larger battery sizes. And I'll talk about that more in a bit. There is a lot of smart detection and battery safety features built into this charger. It has smart detection, which limits nickel metal hydride output up to 500 milliamps, so it will not charge nickel metal hydride anything higher than half an amp. And it will only charge lithium ions up to 1 amp. It has independent channel control, so you can have a completely different battery chemistry in each of these ports, and it will charge all of them separately, independently, no connection between the channels, so that's really good for charging just a bunch of different varieties of batteries. It has a battery revival function, so if you put in a battery that is dead, it's been like a nickel metal hydride that's been drained all the way, it's actually able to revive the battery, bring it back to life. If it is not able to do that, then it will just tell you null after 10 minutes of attempting to revive the battery. So in that case, the battery is just done for, so you'll have to get rid of it. It has a soft current ramp, so when you put the batteries in, it doesn't immediately supply maximum current. It ramps it up. And more importantly than that, it'll actually ramp it back down as it's nearing the end of the charge cycle. So that'll give it a really soft both start and charge, start and end to the battery cycle charge. So that's really good for the longevity of your lithium ions. As well as it has a 3-stage charge algorithm. And lastly, it has a smart power source analysis. So this can supply a maximum output of 2 amps. I'll talk more about the display in just a second, but when you plug it in, it'll actually tell you, actually, you know what? Screw that. Okay, so it's a USB powered charger, as you can see. This is USB-A. This is a proprietary charger, or sorry, this is a proprietary connector, which is just going to plug right into the top of the unit here. And this can be plugged into basically any USB source. So I have this Anchor battery pack right here that I'm plugging this into. So this is the display here. One of the things I want to talk about is this has smart power analysis built in. So this will tell you what the maximum output of the charging unit itself is. So for example, when there's nothing plugged in, it'll just automatically show 0.5 milliamps. But if you actually plug a battery in, then it will display what it's actually charging. So it'll show you it has 1 amp. If you're plugged into a source that is not capable of providing 2 amps, like this, so here I'd plug in another 18650, right? So now this charger is outputting 2 amps. If it weren't capable of doing that, it would tell you right here. So this would go down, say if it was only able to supply half an amp, then it would display that. So that's a really nice feature that it has. You don't have to worry about the sources you're using. It will be able to handle basically any USB source you can plug it into. So if say you're using a smartphone charging adapter like this one that's supplying more than 2 amps, then it will not be more than this can handle. It will only supply the 2 amps to charge the batteries. So you don't have to worry about what you're plugging it into. Let's just talk about the display here real quick, the function, because it's very simple and intuitive, I think, but there are some things to talk about. So as you can see here, there are 4 bays, which expand to receive different battery types. Each bay has an LED on top that will switch between red and green, and then a channel switch. Up on top, it has, again, the maximum power output, and then it has 2 channel analysis indicators that'll show you the status of each of the individual channels. So it can only show you 2 at a time. So let's say right now on default it'll show you channel 1 and channel 4. You can just switch between channel 2 and channel 3 by pressing this button. Each channel, it will show you what type of battery you have plugged in. So you can see channel 1, this is lithium ion. Channel 4, this is nickel metal hydride. It will show you the current charge level of the battery. So you can see this lithium ion is pretty much full. It's at 4.2 volts. This nickel metal hydride is almost empty. It's at just under 1.3 volts. And then below that, it will show you how much charge has been applied to the battery. So for example, these I believe are about 1300 milliamp hours. So by the time it's done charging this, the number it will display should be about 1300, or a little less, actually more like 1100 for this particular battery. And then obviously right below, as you can see, while charging, these indicators are red. When the battery is finished charging, these will turn green, and then these numbers here will it'll say finished. So instead of, it'll flash between showing you how many milliamp hours it's added to the battery, and then it'll say finished. So that's really nice. One last thing to mention, in order to power save, this is a somewhat obnoxious bright blue display. However, after 2 minutes of no activity, if you're not pressing this button, it will dim back down to save energy and to save your eyes. And then if you press and hold this button for 3 seconds, it will actually turn the backlight off. So the display is still on under here. I don't think you'll be able to see it, but the display is still on under there. However, the backlight is just turned off. So that helps to save some energy as well. So what are the good things about this charger? Why do I really like it? There are basically 3 reasons. One, it's USB, and it will run off of any USB source. So in other words, you'll basically always have somewhere to plug it in. It's really easy to plug in. For example, right here, I'm at my desktop computer. I could plug it in right over there, and it would charge just fine. I have these smartphone adapters lying around, and of course I have my battery bank, this is the system I usually use just because it's super convenient. 2, it's plug and play. Basically, it's super easy. You can plug in a wide variety of batteries. Basically anything that is a battery that you need to charge, you can plug it in. Any size, any chemistry, not any chemistry, but the vast majority of things that you're actually going to be using, especially for your flashlights, this will easily charge. And the third thing I really like is safety. This is a very safe charger. They have all kinds of safety features built into it. For example, they claim this is made out of a special fire retardant material. I don't know. I obviously haven't tested that, but I'm willing to believe them on that. But more so, the more practical things I think are the things such as the current ramp up and ramp down during charging, which is a really nice, not only safety feature, not that if your charger doesn't do that, your battery is definitely going to explode, but for unprotected batteries such as this one here, this is an LG MJ1. This is an unprotected cell, so that will really be nice. It will just be an extra little thing to prevent it from damaging the battery, and it will, most importantly, preserve the longevity of the battery, so it'll allow it to last longer. You'll be able to get more charge cycles out of your battery by doing this. So that's super nice. I really like that about this charger. And as for the battery varieties, again, you can plug all kinds of batteries in here. I use this for nickel metal hydrides and nickel metal hydride AA's. This is actually what's in my audio recorder usually, except right now I'm running it off of this battery bank, which is why this is on. But I use these nickel metal hydride AA's all the time, as well as, of course, 18650s. I also will sometimes charge 26650s in here. They fit just fine. It works great. You can fit anything. One thing to know though is that these two bays on the outer edge here are larger, so this will allow you to put in larger batteries, such as this 26650. I mean, you could fit this 26650 in the center if that was the only battery you were using. Actually, maybe not even this one, because you can see the contacts. It's not really contacting. So this particular battery would have to stay on the outside. This C-cell, this one would be able to fit, as you can see. But if you do have these larger batteries on the outside like this, then it may crowd out the center channels. So like, I can barely fit this slightly slimmer 18650. If I was using a thicker one, I think all the ones I have will fit, but it's a fairly tight fit. So just be aware of that. If you're doing something like charging 2 C's on the outside and then 2 doubles on the inside, then they'll fit fine. But if you were to try to charge 4 C's like this, they would just not fit. They can't fit next to each other at all. So just be aware of the sizes of the batteries you're using, because you might run into some issues if you're trying to have large batteries alongside other large batteries. For the most part, though, it's not a big issue. So lastly, just the build quality of this thing is very good. It's just plastic. It's not anything too crazy, but it's very well formed. It's actually quite durable. I don't know. It's just very well made. It's not perfect. You can kind of see the, hope this is in focus, you can kind of see the red PCB down there. Not an issue, but it's kind of interesting they didn't seal that off better. But the build is just fine. Like, this connection point here is totally sturdy, nothing wrong with it. These are plenty sturdy. They don't really wiggle at all, so that's good. It's definitely, you can tell it'll last a long time, and I trust XTAR's experience making electronic products. I don't think this is gonna die out on you anytime soon. So overall, it's just a very well-made product. However, unfortunately, it is not perfect. It does have its issues. One of them that I find honestly to be a slightly hilarious oversight. This battery does, of course, have reverse polarity protection. It ought to have reverse polarity protection. You plug it in, it'll just say error. Can't do that. But for some strange reason, I guess they just never thought that anyone would be dumb enough to plug an alkaline in here. Because if you plug an alkaline in here, it'll just try to charge it. So that's kind of I think it's kind of a big oversight. But I guess I just assumed no one would be dumb enough to even try to do that. So anyway, this is almost idiot-proof, but not quite because of this. Another thing to mention, obviously this charger does not charge lithium iron phosphate, so that does kind of suck. But really, the big thing that bothers me are the channel limitations. So this can only output 2 amps maximum. However, the design they chose was kind of interesting. These outer 2 channels can each do 1 amp, maximum, and these inner channels can each do half an amp maximum. Any channel will only go to half an amp if you're using a nickel metal hydride, but if you're using a lithium ion, then these ones will, again, they'll hit 1 full amp. And if you have lithium ions on either side, they'll both hit 1 amp, so this is outputting 2 amps. They're both being charged the same. But if you plug anything, literally anything, into one of these center channels, everything is now limited to half an amp. Why is that? I'm just not sure. It seems like a much easier way to design this product, but it's just kind of a strange design and one that could be kind of frustrating. So just be mindful, if you're only charging 2 batteries, you definitely want to make sure that they're on the outside if they're lithium ions, because if you put even one of them on the inside, then they'll both charge half as fast, which is, again, it's strange. Also, if you plug a nickel metal hydride into here, they will once again both be limited to half an amp. But if you plug a nickel metal hydride into the outer one, then this one will still charge at 1 amp. So it's a little quirky, a little strange, and you should definitely be mindful of that if you're mixing battery types and plugging things into the center channel. Basically, what you need to know is if it's on the outside and it's lithium ion, if you have 2 batteries, it'll charge at 1 amp. If anything is on the inside at all, everything will charge at half an amp. So that is honestly my biggest issue with this charger. It's not something that bothers me in practice, because it's not really a big deal, but it's just a little annoying, I think. Mostly if you're trying to charge 3 batteries, like this. Whoops. If you're trying to do this, it would actually be more economical to just wait for these 2 to be done and then plug this one in on its own. If you have 2, they're each going to charge at 1 amp, and then you can take them out and put the last one in, and that'll charge at 1 amp. But if you have 3, they'll all only charge at half an amp. So again, it's better to do the 2 and the 1. Also, one interesting thing, this is obviously an old battery, and you can see it's only coming up to 4.15 volts instead of 4.2. But this charger is telling me it's full because it knows this battery can't take any more charge. So again, like I said, it's deceptively simple, but it is very sophisticated underneath. And yet it has some deceptively, simply dumb issues, but can't be perfect. Last thing I want to talk about, proprietary charger, proprietary plug, I mean. Nobody likes these. Nobody ever likes these. They just suck. But it is what it is. They do give you this cable, so it's fine, really. And you can buy these. They're not expensive, but I would have liked if this was just a micro USB, or now with if they were to update it to just make it a USB-C. That would be a lot more convenient. Not a big deal, but it is just kind of dumb. Last thing. Very minor thing, but this is supposed to be an in-depth review. I mean, I'm probably missing a million things, but it comes with these small rubber feet on the bottom, but they're like very poorly glued in, so they all fall out. So this one, they all fell out except for, oh no, these 2 fell out, and then these have fallen out in the past, and I just stuck it back in there. So that's kind of strange, but it doesn't affect like anything at all. So just something to be aware of, I guess, if you're wondering why there's these little black pads after you pick this up. That's what those are. Last thing, verdict. So overall, I just love this charger. I think it's fantastic. It's everything that I need it to be. It's easily packable, transportable. It's lightweight, and I know it'll work everywhere because it's USB. It'll charge everything. I don't have to think about how it's charging it. There's the one quirk that I did mention with the center and the outer channels, which is not that big a deal. I can work around it just fine. So overall, I think there are newer chargers that have come out, even made by XTAR, that are more sophisticated, but this one is just really hard to beat. It's really got all the features. Really, the only reason I wouldn't recommend this is just if you need something smaller, or if you just have like if you need an 8 bay or something, I guess, or if you need to charge lithium iron phosphates. But that's not most people. I think most people, this will do everything and more. It'll charge lithium ion, nickel metal hydride, and all the sizes. So overall, I think it's a really excellent product, and it comes in at a good price. It's only, I bought it for $40. If you look around now, I've seen it for as low as about $35, $34. So I think it's a really great value. Well-made product. Again, it's just very highly recommended. If you're looking for a charger and you have batteries, use this. Okay, I'm trying to think of something. Okay. Okay, so all that being said, obviously, I haven't made a video in a long time. I'm sorry, guys. I have gotten a lot of requests to review more flashlights and whatnot, and I really want to. I'm working on it. I just haven't had time and haven't had the funds. Flashlights just, they move so fast that it's really hard to keep up with them. I can't buy every new flashlight that comes out, especially when I only have so much money to begin with. And if I'm going to keep doing these long-term reviews, which is what I would like to do, these long-term and in-depth reviews, it's just hard because people always want to see whatever is newest, and I can't give an in-depth review, like a long-term usage review of something that came out a week ago. And then by the time I do get that, there's like 3 new models that come out because flashlights are ridiculous. So just so you're all aware, I am still alive, obviously. I'm working on it, and I want to bring more content to you, but what I need is for you guys to tell me what you want me to review, because like I said, with all these problems I'm having, with just all these new flashlights that are coming out, it'll just make it so much easier if you guys would tell me what you want, because I would love that. I'd love to be reviewing exactly what you guys want me to review, to give you these in-depth reviews, because there's so many flashlights that get a lot of attention, but I feel like there's so many things that get overlooked. So anyway, I hope I'm not being too redundant and long-winded, because I always am. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you want to see more, please subscribe, comment in the comments, whatever you want to say. If you love this video, please tell me, and tell me why. If you hated it, put death threats down there. I'm good with that. I'm always cool with that. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. So thanks for watching, and if you're a company, send me stuff. Thanks. Goodbye.